General Maxwell D. Taylor, born August 26, 1901, Keatsville, Missouri. U.S. Military Academy at West Point, graduated 1922. Third in class, studied languages, fluent in French, Spanish, and Italian, attended the Command and General Staff. College 1935, graduate of the Army War College. Military career overview 1922 to 1964. 1922 to 1939. Early service and education 19-2. Commissioned into the U.S. Army after graduating third in his class at West Point. Initially served in the Corps of Engineers. Later transferred to Field Artillery. Fluent in French, Spanish, and Italian, making him valuable in diplomatic and foreign postings. Served as a military attaché in Japan and China, gaining early exposure to international relations. Attended the Command and General Staff College and the Army War College to prepare for high-level command and staff positions. 1939 to 1945. World War. I rose rapidly through the ranks during the war due to his tactical brilliance and leadership. Key roles: 1943, 1944, Chief of Staff and later Assistant Division Commander of the 82nd Airborne Division, 1944 to 1945, Commanding General of the 101st Airborne Division. Key campaigns: Invasion of Italy, 1943. Secretly parachuted into Italy ahead of Allied forces to negotiate surrender terms. Operation Overlord D-Day, June 6, 1944, lead 101st Airborne in Normandy landings. Operation Market Garden, 1944, participated in bold but costly airborne campaign in the Netherlands. Battle of the Bulge, 1944-1945. Directed defense during the German counteroffensive in Bastogne. Reputation: Taylor was widely respected for combat effectiveness, innovation, and ability to lead elite airborne troops under pressure. 1945 to 1953. Post-war roles and Cold War transition, 1945 to 1949. Superintendent of the U.S. Military Academy. At West Point, modernized curriculum and pushed for academic excellence. 1949 to 1951. Army Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations, 1953 to 1955, commanding General of the 8th U.S. Army in Korea, led post-armistice stabilization efforts, promoted military readiness and troop morale during Cold War tensions. 1955, 1959, Chief of Staff of the U.S. Army appointed by President Dwight D. Eisenhower, strongly opposed the New Look policy, which emphasized nuclear weapons and downsized conventional forces, advocated for flexible response doctrine, modernization of ground forces, greater investment in air mobility and rapid deployment units. Significance: helped shape the Army for future limited wars, like Vietnam, by arguing that nuclear deterrence alone was insufficient. 1961 to 1964. Returned to government and strategic leadership, recalled from retirement by President John F. Kennedy. Roles: 1961, 1962. Military representative to the President. 1962 to 1964. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, replaced General Lyman Lemnitzer. Advised during major crises. Bay of Pigs aftermath, Cuban Missile Crisis, 1962. Expansion of U.S. involvement in Southeast Asia, 1964. Military retirement. Retired from the Army for the second time in 1964. Soon appointed U.S. Ambassador to South Vietnam, 1964, 1965. Continuing his role in military political strategy during early Vietnam escalation. World War II, 1939 to 1945. Rise through the ranks as World War II began. Taylor was already recognized for his intelligence, professionalism, and language skills. Assigned to airborne operations, he rose quickly and became one of the key commanders of U.S. airborne forces. 1942 to 1943. Entry into airborne Operations assigned to the newly forming 82nd Airborne Division, the 1st U.S. Airborne Division. Served as Chief of Staff and later as Artillery Commander. Participated in airborne training and development of vertical envelopment tactics, which involved parachuting troops behind enemy lines. 1943, Allied invasion of Italy. September 1943, undertook a clandestine mission behind enemy lines, parachuting into Italy prior to the Allied landings at Salerno. His objective, to coordinate surrender. Terms with Italian forces and ensure the safe entry of U.S. troops. His success made him a rising star in U.S. Army Command. 1944. Command of the 101st Airborne Division promoted to Major General. Taylor was given command of the legendary 101st Airborne Division in March 1944. Led the division in some of the most critical battles of the war. Key World War II battles under his command. 1. D-Day Normandy invasion, June 6, 1944. 101st Airborne parachuted into Normandy, France. In the early hours of D-Day, Taylor's troops were tasked with securing key roads and bridges, disrupting German reinforcements supporting the beach landings at Utah Beach, despite heavy losses and scattered landings. The 101st achieved critical objectives. Taylor famously led from the front and walked miles behind enemy lines to regroup his forces. 2. Operation Market Garden, September 1944. Allied plan to seize bridges in the Netherlands and advance into Germany. The 101st was responsible for securing bridges and towns near Eindhoven. Although the overall operation failed, Taylor's division performed admirably under tough conditions. 3. Battle of the Bulge, Siege of Bastogne. December 1944, Taylor was in the U.S. when the German Ardennes offensive began. But his division, under Brig. Gen. McAuliffe, held Bastogne against overwhelming odds. Taylor returned quickly and resumed command. His leadership helped the 101st repel repeated German attacks and maintain the vital road junction until relieved by Patton's Third Army. Decorations earned during WWI Distinguished Service Medal, Silver Star, Bronze Star. Medal Legion of Merit Medal. Numerous foreign awards from Allied nations leadership. Style and reputation, known for calm under fire, tactical flexibility. Rect. Engagement with troops earned the loyalty of his men and the respect of superiors like General Eisenhower, considered one of the most effective airborne commanders of World War II. Honors and awards, political and strategic roles. 1960s return to service under President Kennedy, 1961, 1962. Although retired from the military in 1959. Taylor returned at the personal request of President John F. Kennedy. Kennedy admired Taylor's opposition to the new look strategy, which focused too heavily on nuclear deterrence and valued his ideas on flexible response. Key role: appointed military representative to the President, 196-11962. A position similar to National Security Advisor, but military-focused. Key influence: provided counsel during the Bay of Pigs invasion, 1961. Aftermath: advocated for a new military doctrine, less reliance on nuclear weapons, greater emphasis on conventional forces, special forces, and counterinsurgency too. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, 1962 to 1964. Appointed October 1962 by President Kennedy. Succeeded General Lyman Lemnitzer-Posen, the highest-ranking military officer in the U.S. Principal military advisor to the President and Secretary of Defense. Key moments: Cuban Missile Crisis. October 1962 played a vital role in strategic discussions during the standoff with the Soviet Union. Supported a naval blockade rather than immediate military action. Advocated for flexible military responses and readiness for regional conflicts. Pushed for expansion of Special Forces, Green Berets, and unconventional warfare capabilities. Helped direct U.S. involvement in Laos and early Vietnam policy. 3. U.S. Ambassador to South Vietnam. 1960–1965, appointed by President Lyndon B. Johnson. Following Taylor's retirement from the Joint Chiefs, succeeded Henry Cabot Lodge, Jr. as ambassador. Responsibilities: coordinated U.S. military and political strategy with South Vietnamese. Leadership: worked closely with General William Westmoreland and South Vietnamese President Nguyen Con Monitor, and reported on insurgency conditions, pressed Washington to escalate U.S. involvement and take stronger action against the Viet Cong. Controversy: advocated increased U.S. military aid and involvement, which contributed to Johnson's decision to send ground troops in 1965. Critics argued Taylor underestimated political instability in South Vietnam and overemphasized military solutions for public. Intellectual and author published Swords and Plowshares, 1972. A memoir reflecting on Cold War military policy, Vietnam, and his own career, became a respected figure in military policy circles. Lectured, Axial, Military Relations, Counterinsurgency, Doctrine, Cold War Strategy, and Leadership.